Hello and welcome to this week's edition of We Follow the Town, a weekly podcast looking at all things Ipswich. And this week we have a win to talk about, Paul Cook's first win as Ipswich manager, more on the takeover, and of course the return of the legendary, well, that might be a bit much to say, but the legendary Skuseys. I am joined by Aaron Tester and Leigh Simons, and I'm delighted to have you two here. First of all, what were your thoughts on the game, and do you reckon we can maybe go on a bit of a run from here, Aaron?
It's obviously a great win. It's great to get Paul Cook's first win on the board, but it wasn't sort of a dominating win. It wasn't a win that's we didn't really stand on the game at any point. But it was a win, and that's all that matters. And hopefully, we can come on a bit of a run. We've got a few teams coming up that are in and around us, so if we can get a few points from those, maybe a win against Portsmouth or teams around us, and that would be great.
So a win's a win, Leigh, because we did dominate in the opening 10 minutes. We really should have been 3-0 up, but ultimately we didn't score as many as we could have done. Do you reckon we should have maybe won by more, or do you agree with Aaron? A win's a win, and it was a good result.
To be honest, a win is a win. I'll take the 3 points over anything, really, even if it was a scrappy 1-0 win, which turned out to be that case. But yeah, you are right, Ben. We should have had about 3 goals in the first 10 minutes. We should have scored with Alan Judge's free kick after 2 minutes. That was a good save by the goalkeeper. And then, of course, Troy Parrott had that kind of mistake and let him in and ran the goalkeeper and scored his first goal for the town. So, which is great. But then we did have an opportunity with Caden Jackson. I thought he should have really scored the one-on-one against the goalkeeper. But give credit to the Plymouth goalkeeper. He did a good save. But they did have chances as well. I was quite surprised that they left their top goal scorer on the bench, really, because I thought he would actually give us a bit of a run for our money, especially with Chambers in the right back position. I thought NCL played quite well. I thought Wilson played quite well, and Thomas Hurley, he didn't really have an opportunity to show what he's worth. But we've all talked about Hurley in the recent weeks about him, But yeah, I do agree with Aaron. Win's a win. We should move on because we've got a bigger tie coming on next Saturday, which is away to Portsmouth. So that's going to be the 6-pointer in my eyes. We need to win that game.
So a good evening to those who've joined us in the chat. You can, of course, get involved. The StreamYard link is in the chat. So just let us know via the private chat if you want to get involved. And of course, we'll talk more in detail about the game later. But Troy Parrott, as you just said, he scored his first goal. And Troy Parrott, in my opinion, was probably the man of the match from that game. Aaron, how good has he been for us? And is he a player that we could maybe build a team around?
I don't think he's a player that we'll be able to build a team around because he's going to leave us in 13, 14 games. But he's been excellent. Sort of his work rate's been brilliant. His play's been brilliant. He's got a good first touch. But it is nice to see him in goal scoring situations because that's one criticism I've probably had of him is that he does a lot of work, but sometimes he's doing a lot of work at left back or right back. He's never doing all the good work in front of goal. So it's good to see him get a goal and hopefully he can really kick on and get some more goals for us in the coming weeks.
And of course, he scored his first goal in that game. And James Norwood was nowhere to be seen. He wasn't on the bench. He wasn't in the starting 18 at all. Which player do you reckon would actually take over Norwood's position? Should Norwood not be available for the upcoming games? Because against Fleetwood, Norwood will not be available for the team. Is that maybe a position which Parrott can fill? Sorry, or is it more of a position for Lancaster, Leigh?
To be honest, if I were Paul Cook, I would actually put Parrott where he is, or you could actually just put him in the central midfield role. You can bring Alan Judge into the attacking midfielder, and then bring Jack Lancaster or Edwards on the left, or even the right. So, to be honest, we will miss Norwood without a doubt because he's our top goal scorer with 6 goals this season. So, I'm glad that Troy Parrott actually scored on Saturday, so it gives him a bit of a confidence. Just remember, he's only 19. I know he's online from Spurs, but I've heard on the grapevine that he may come back to us for another loan season if we get up, which will be good news for us. But yeah, as I say, He's only 19, but that's how I'll play. I'll keep the same formation, but just slightly change the players and the tactics, even bring in Harrop as well. But you just don't know. But I feel I would actually put Judge in the attacking midfield and then put Parrott up front on his own.
So let's get into the game properly, because as you just said, Judge returned to the starting lineup. Parrott, Caden Jackson and Alan Judge returned to the Blues' starting lineup, with James Norwood, as we just said, missing from the 18, and Jack Lancaster and Teddy Bishop dropping to the bench. Jackson, who was making his first start under Paul Cook, started as the lone striker in place of Norwood, with Parrott in behind him. And Ipswich Town played with a 4-2-3-1, and in my opinion, the formation actually works pretty well. What do we make of the formation, Aaron? Do you reckon that we'll probably play the 4-2-3-1 predominantly under Cook for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I think that's the way he wants to play. I think he wants to play with wide players, and I think ideally he wants to get the fullbacks going up and down the pitch. But I think that is where we're struggling for him personally at the moment. I think he'll stick with it, but with Chambers and Kenlock, they're not exactly bombing on sort of wing backs, are they? They're more sort of quite solid fullbacks. But I think we will stay with that sort of formation unless we have some serious sort of injury worries coming up where he might have to change. But yeah, I can see us staying with that so far.
And of course, Plymouth made one change with Lewis coming into the side for the 18-goal top scorer Luke Jeffcott, who has previously played for Truro. He was on the bench following an 8-game goalless streak, with Niall Ennis, who is on loan from Wolves, coming in to replace him. Former Blues loanee Connor Grant also started for the visitors. Now, Leigh, we spoke about this a bit earlier on in the podcast. Why didn't Luke Jeffcott start? He is a great player. He looked fantastic when we were playing at Home Park. Do you reckon it was a tactical decision actually made by Plymouth, or do you reckon they were simply keeping him on the bench to protect him?
Well, it could be a bit of both, really, because it might be a bit of mind games. But personally, if I was the manager of Plymouth, Ryan Lowe, I would actually start him. But he's scored 18 goals for the club. You want to play him because last time out that he actually scored the goal in the 13th minute because he's their top goal scorer and he did quite well. But if all strikers go in a similar role, if say Parrott doesn't score for the next 12 matches, that's what's going to happen to him, or even Norwood. But he did come on. I thought he'd done all right. But going back to the formation. They played the 3-5-2 with an attacking midfielder, but they played two forwards. Sorry, but yesterday they played the one striker and then two midfielders, and then we got the four, then another four. So it kind of went into a defensive mode. I was a bit surprised they did that because within that 10 minutes, as we know, we could have scored 3 goals, but we just came out of the traps and went at them.
So the game got underway, of course, with hail falling heavily from the sky. And within a minute, Pilgrim's keeper Mike Keeper saw a clearance which would probably normally have reached him at the halfway stop. But the Blues only had to wait 4 minutes to go in front by Parrott's first goal in senior football. The on-loan Tottenham man reacted quickly to the interception, and an awful Lewis back pass across his own area ultimately saw Parrott come in and, in the proper form of a poacher, score the goal. Now, Aaron, that was an awful mistake by Plymouth. And unfortunately, during the first 10 minutes, Plymouth were full of mistakes. Now, talk us through the goal. And do you reckon it was a deserved goal for Ipswich Town? Or do you reckon it was purely against the run of play, given the fact that it came from a mistake?
Oh, they were. I don't think I've seen a team start as poorly as Plymouth did the other day. They were awful. They couldn't spring a pass together. Every time they tried to kick it, it went out of play. They were dreadful for that first sort of 15 minutes. And we needed to score then. We really did. I know it's not against the run of play. They were dreadful. And if we didn't score against them, I'd be really worried for the rest of the game. Because, to be fair, after that, they did start to wake up and they had a lot of the ball. Yeah. So we really did need to score then. And luckily we did. And luckily we could hold on.
So ITFC Tweedy says, our early goal ruined their setup. In my opinion, we could have scored a lot more goals in the opening 10 minutes. I think I said before we went on air that it should have at least have been 3-0 in the opening 10 minutes. Do you reckon that our lack of proficiency, or however you pronounce that, in front of goal ultimately paid the price, because again, we should have won by more in this game, Leigh.
Yeah, we should have done, but like I said earlier on, 3 points is 3 points, and I'll take it, even if it's dog eat dog, really, isn't it? So we were scrapping at the end of the 20 minutes of that game, and luckily they missed 2 opportunities to score. Okay, we could have a couple more, especially with Alan Judge missing that chance with Jackson pulling a ball cross in the penalty box, and he kind of just skied it up, didn't he? So there was another chance there. So yeah, I just think it was good play by Ipswich, but like I say, I think we lost a bit of our rhythm when Finn Downs went off, because I thought he was playing pretty good up until then, until he got injured. But we looked like, when they had the ball, we looked like we were in the 4-4-2 formation, and Parrott was pushing up a little bit more. Jackson was pushing on the last defender, and that was quite good to see. But then they revert back to the 4-5-1 formation when we were attacking. So personally, I would just say it's a good result for us, and hopefully it will continue on Tuesday night.
And the Blues' number 9 should have made it 2-0 in the opening 10 minutes, with James Wilson playing a deftly weighted ball over the top of the Plymouth backline, beating their offside trap. However, keeper was out quickly and ultimately blocked Jackson's lobbed effort at goal. In my opinion, I thought Jackson actually struggled against Plymouth. He didn't really get into the game. He didn't create too many chances. Is it about where Jackson actually fits into the side, or do you reckon Jackson needs a partner up front?
I personally think he needs a partner.
Yeah.
When he played with Norwood, if Norwood's winning flick-ons or little 1-2s, that's when he's really in the game. But when it's sort of the only time he looks in the game at all is if he's chasing something or harassing a defender. It's basically all that he can do for us, really, if he's playing as one, because he's not got a brilliant first touch. He's not great at the hold-up play, but he is sort of rapid, lightning quick. And I would like to have seen him score there, because one goal could bring many for him, as I think we've seen last season with his confidence. So if he can get a few goals, and if he could have scored there, maybe we would have seen him score more in the future. But I thought it would have worked, actually, with him and Parrott, because if Parrott is pushing up, which I think he did a little bit more in this game, I thought it would have worked a bit better. But he had his chance, he missed it, but you'd like to see him have more chances in the game than he did.
And on 34, Parrott hit a shot against Coloured Watts from inside the box following a strong run and through ball from Downs. The reason this is significant in the narrative is because Flynn Downs ultimately got injured. And of course, Teddy Bishop came on to replace him. So the first half was fairly uneventful apart from the opening 10 minutes. Plymouth, in my opinion, went to a back 5, or that's how I saw it anyway, and ultimately saw us out. What did we make of the first half, Leigh? Do you reckon, as I said earlier on, that maybe we could have taken our chances a bit better? Because we, again, had loads of chances. Plymouth were incredibly poor, and Plymouth were full of mistakes, which we don't usually see at Portman Road.
No, we don't. Well, as Aaron was saying, they were quite shocking, really, weren't they? Especially defending. They didn't really want to go forward. They were kind of set up as a defensive 5-4-1, as you were saying. But that's what happens, isn't it? In football, if a team wants to defend, that's what's going to happen. But they, as I say, they were lucky not to have scored earlier on, because if Downs was still fit, I know he came off from the 36 minutes of the game. If he stayed on the pitch, I think we might have done a bit more, because Bishop, when he came on, I don't think he really didn't do much at all for us. We were hanging in at the end, especially, biting your nails time at the end, especially with the 3 minutes to go. You never know. Could have scored. But as I say, I'm quite happy with the 3 points, and let's just move on to the next game.
And of course, later on, we will be taking your questions. You can get involved in the show. As I said earlier on, there is a StreamYard link in the chat, and you can, of course, tell us that you want to be on the show by letting us know through the private chat. But Aaron, Teddy Bishop came on, and he didn't seem too comfortable in the role. He was seemingly playing as a ball-winning midfielder, and he actually made quite a few mistakes. What was the matter with Bishop? Do you reckon that it was simply one of those games where, he more or less had off if that makes sense.
I just don't think that's his role to play in the team, to be in that sort of two in midfield with Giselle. I don't think that's either of their role really. To be well, it's not their favourite roles to be in there trying to win the ball and then play. I think that's more of a Downs is perfect in that role. Win the ball, battle, give it to Giselle, play, and that we saw how good we were when we did that. It was a real shame when he went off. So yeah. I think Bishop really does struggle in a 2. If he would have played in a 3, but slightly further on up the pitch, that would probably his best position because he doesn't have to worry about the sticking back and the role that he would play in a 2. So it's strange, really, isn't it? Because sort of 10 years ago, 4-4-2 was the main thing, and everybody was playing 4-4-2, and all the midfielders knew their roles. And players would burst on, get past the attacker, and score goals, and they'd also know when to defend. But it seems like nowadays all of the midfielders are either sitting midfielders or attacking midfielders. You don't just have a box-to-box midfielder anymore, and I think that's what we've got at the moment with us, especially because obviously the Zell sits, and I think Bishop likes to roam about and dribble and get past people. But I think he did struggle in that game, and it's a shame that Downs had to go off injured. But I think when Skus come on, I think we could see what was quite good about it when Skus come back on. I know everybody's got a little bit of criticism about Cole Skus, but I've always really liked him because he does the dirty stuff for us. He does the breaking up, and you can start play with him as well. And I think we saw that when he come on.
So we're going to get into the second half in a little bit, but Cole Skusey, as you just mentioned, came on, and in my opinion, he added a lot of reassurance to the defence. How importantly could Cole Skusey be for us for the rest of the season? Because he is a seasoned veteran, he has got a lot of experience, and maybe with a young midfield, that is exactly what we need.
Well, we can go back even further because we miss players like Matty Holland and Jimmy Jitton, really. Think of those players, what we had. I feel that we are missing that kind of player, or box to box, as Aaron said. We're only getting the defensive midfielder or your attacking midfielder. There's nothing in between the players what we got at the moment. As I say, the only player who will do that is Downs and Cole Skusey, really. But Cole Skusey has only played 26 minutes of the season, so he's only come on for 26 minutes, and that's it. But you can tell that he's had a couple of accurate passes. He did 2 of them in that game. Long balls as well. Accuracy was only 1, but and then he did quite well. He done quite well of just breaking up the play for them because they were playing a defensive 4 anyway. So sorry, a 5 if you call them the midfield and the attacking. So they kind of just broke that up just a little bit and then try to pass it away. But yeah, I'd like to see Matheson back in the side personally. I feel he's got more legs than Chambers. Even if I want to put Chambers back into the centre defence, maybe that's the case. But I don't think he will break up NCR or Wilson because they've been playing pretty well together.
And we'll, of course, talk about Matheson later on in the show because there may be a debate to have about Luke Matheson and where he fits into the team. Anyway, we get on to the second half, and Jackson would have probably felt that he should have scored the 1-on-1 opportunity, with Plymouth having looked there for the taking in the early stages of the second half. But ultimately, Jackson, who struggled against Plymouth, didn't score that effort. Miles Kenlock struck the first shot of the second half 5 minutes in after the restart, but his powerful effort from wide ultimately flew high and wide. Town should have doubled their lead after the 52nd minute when Giselle sent Jackson away on the right, and the striker cut the ball back to Judge, who blazed the ball over. And the Irishman would have probably felt that he should have definitely have scored that. But in my opinion, he had a good game anyway. Both sides made subs on the 64th minute. Nothing has really happened so far in the second half, and the Pilgrims swapped Ennis and Lewis on for Ryan Hardy and the ever so dangerous Luke Jeffcott, while the Blues switched Parrott and Jackson for Skusey, making his first appearance since the 7th of March last year, and Aaron Drynan, who probably can't score to save his life. So how important was Skusey when he came on? Because he made a couple of vital interceptions, and in my opinion, he actually slowed the game down for the better, really, because Plymouth were actually getting on top. Could Skusey, as we said a minute ago, be really, really important to our formation, Aaron?
I think so, yeah. But he's only played 20 odd minutes, and I only saw him in training for 1 week. I think
And
I
he hasn't
saw
played
something.
since March last year. So
No, I saw it on Twitter, I think, where they said, "Oh, Scoose back on the training ground." I was like, "Oh yeah, great. Scoose might be back in a couple of weeks' time to, I know, play a few minutes, get into it." He's played 23 minutes. We're talking about him playing a massive part in the season. I'd like to see him play a massive part in the rest of the season, but I don't want him rushed in and forced into a big start in a big game like Portsmouth next week, and he going to crumble or break down again. I'd like to see him maybe like this, where you're 1-0 up or something like that, come in last half hour like he did, and really shore things up as he did, because I think he did play a massive part. I think it really summed it up. He come on, I think he was on 5 minutes, broke up a nice bit of play, interception, little through ball, then we won a corner, and that's everything we wanted from that game. So yeah, it was good to see him back, but I wouldn't be rushing him in and trying to rely on him for the rest of the season to win us every game. And
So Julian Hughes, he brings up something quite interesting. Said on the Naked Footy Show, we need a hard centre midfield man as we are so lightweights. Now, Leigh, could Emma Hughes potentially be that man? Because nobody seems to mention Emma Hughes. He's almost like the lost man of Ipswich. So, okay, we just mentioned Skus, and Skus could almost take that role. But as Aaron said, he's a bit too, you can crumble, if that makes sense. So could Emma Hughes potentially take that role, even if it is off the bench?
Well, that's going to be a difficult one because he hasn't really played much football for us, really. So I don't think it's going to be Emma Hughes really. I still want Finn Downs, but because he's injured, we don't know how long he's going to be out for. So we are missing, especially Julian has said, we are definitely missing a hard centre midfield. Like I said before, we're missing a Jimmy Chilton or Matt Holland, really. Especially Matty Holland. He was definitely the box-to-box midfielder. Loved the sliding tackle. He hardly got a yellow card for it. So he was one of those players who we miss. But I don't think it's going to be Emma Hughes at all, really, because when he first came into the club and into the team, I kind of liked him. He did what Matty Holland did, but now he's been kind of frozen out. I don't know if he's injured or anything, but we are missing that hard man in that central midfielder.
Anyway, in the 77th minute, in case you were wondering why I was so critical about Annan Drinan played a clever ball to Judge. Clever's being a bit kind. And he played the clever ball from the right, of course, to the left as the Blues broke. The midfield took it to the edge of the box, but his shot was ultimately blocked by Will Aimson. There was a big scare for Town a minute later when Kelland Watts crossed the ball from the left to Kamara, who rose the highest in the air and almost got his head onto the ball. Anyway, both sides made their second changes late on in the second half, with Town withdrawing Judge and Edwards for Lancaster and Keenan Bennett, and both of them operated on the left and the right respectively, whereas Plymouth replaced former Town man Grant and McLeod for Ben Reeves and Brian Moore. And in all honesty, there's not much more to talk about. Plymouth did carry on, and they did proceed to take the game to Town, but ultimately we saw at the final 10 minutes, Cole Skusey, as we mentioned earlier, was a sturdy head, was a great figure to have in the midfield, and ultimately he helped see the game out. Although Plymouth might have nabbed an equaliser via Kamara's late header, but a draw would have been incredibly harsh overall for the Blues. Now, we've spoken a lot about our opinions on the game and the fact that we felt it was a deserved win. But let's have a quick look at the stats. And you could probably tell me a bit more about the stats, Leigh, because the game was ultimately quite one-sided in the first half.
Yeah.
So if you look at the possession overall, Ipswich Town had 46% possession and Plymouth 54%. Could we really read anything into that, Leigh?
Not really, because they set up as a defensive, formation. So not really, because it's all about putting that ball in the back of the net, really. So if they got 54%, have it. It doesn't really bother me that much. But it's all about the total shots. What we had 11 compared to their 6. We only had 3 on target. They only had 2 on target. So, but I was a bit when the 2 strikers for Plymouth come on, I thought a bit more tense, really, because they've come on, they're going to change the formation, try and get at Ipswich Town a bit more, but it didn't really happen. But they did miss quite a few big chances, really, especially Camera. I thought he would have scored because he's quite a tall player. He did have chances, but it didn't really test Holy. And of course, he missed that one when Watts crossed it home from the left-hand side. I thought he was going to score because Holy was just rooted there. Obviously, he knew it was going to go wide. But yeah, to be honest, you can't really read into the possession at that stage because it's all about the shots and the actual creating chances, which we kind of did. And that's what happened. We even had more corners than they did. So, to be honest, win's a win, and we'll go through to the next round, to the next game. Sorry, on Tuesday.
And a good evening to Callie, and also a good evening to everybody who's joined us here tonight. Please get your questions in down below, and don't feel shy to get involved in the show. Now, Aaron, if we take a look at the shots a minute, Town had 11 shots, whereas we only had 3 on target. Is that almost proof that we're not that good in front of goal, because we didn't actually take our chances well at all? And as I said earlier on, Jackson actually struggled in front of goal. So yeah, does that kind of tell us that we need more oomph up front?
Yeah, certainly, I think so. But I think it's mainly a confidence thing for the players. So there's a chance for Jackson. If he plays more minutes and gets more games and feels more confident in front of goal, I think he slots a couple of them chances home. That Judge shot where it comes across the box, he has to be hitting the target. I don't know if there's a little bobble in there or something where he skies it into row Z, but that's a chance that you should really be hitting the target at least, if not trying to put it in the corner and put it away. I think it's a massive confidence thing for the group, really. And I think he's trying to implement a style of play, Paul Cook, where we get more chances. And I think he must have only had probably 4 or 5 sessions, maybe most.
Yeah,
so since the guys,
less.
Maybe even less. So I think there's a lot of time for us to work on these things and make them right on the pitch.
And Town, of course, after that win, are 6th in the table, just above Plymouth, who are on 52 points. And we, of course, play Plymouth real soon. And Plymouth, who aren't on any run of form at all, would arguably be a team who we should really be beating. Leigh, do you reckon that we could maybe go on a run from here? Because, of course, before Paul Lambert left, we were on a fairly good run then, though we weren't playing excellent football. And now under Paul Cook, it looks as if we're kind of playing with a bit more tenacity and, I don't know, maybe his philosophy. So do you reckon that, Leigh, we could maybe go on a bit of a run here? Sorry.
It's going to be all in our hands, really, isn't it? So we're in the playoff positions. We've got games in hand over the top 2 as well. Hull City, I think, played 3 more games than us, I think.
Yeah.
I know Portsmouth has still got to play, and of course we've still got to play them. That's going to be a big 6-pointer. So yeah, I think it's all to play for, and I just think it's going to be all in our hands. But in the stats as well, the Plymouth, when they were attacking us, they only had 22% compared to our 34%. So there's definitely more chances for us in that game.
And of course, in his post-match press conference, Paul Cook was questioned about Marcus Evans, and in similar fashion that he's always kind of replies to the press, Paul Cook said, "I've got to be brutally honest, the club and Marcus Evans, Leigh O'Neill, they were the people that made it an attractive offer. The relationship between those people have been absolutely massive to me." Paul Cook has kind of played it a bit coy about the new ownership, and of course we'll bring up the news about the ownership later on in the show. But do you reckon that Paul Cook kind of knows that the club is about to be taken over? Because in the press conference he was kind of a bit coy, as I just said, Aaron.
Well, yeah, I think he's going to have to be a bit coy because he can't just come in straight away. He's been here 2 minutes saying that he's talking about ownership of the club. I think he is obviously going to be grateful towards Marcus and Leigh O'Neill because they've given him a big job and a big project. So I don't think he's going to be sort of begging for a new owner straight away. I think what he said is probably about right from what he thinks and what is probably sensible in front of the fans. So obviously, I've not heard about the news about the new owner, so I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, I think he's done the right thing, really, Paul Cook, in sort of sticking by Marcus, even as much as we want to see him sort of throw some, I don't even know what the phrase is, but sort of throw us some gold, throw us some magic about the new owners. But yeah, I don't know about the new owners, and I don't think he does either. It's all just rumours for him as well as us.
So Cook also admitted that the 3 points were the most important thing to take from today's game, saying that without a doubt, especially when you're a manager and you're 3 games in without a win, we all know the rules now and that pressure builds quickly. So as we just said, do you reckon that is actually the 3 points that's important and not necessarily the style of play that we see implemented onto the pitch, Leigh?
3 points. It's always going to be about the 3 points. It doesn't matter if you're going to play long balls, short balls, or whatever. It's all about having those 3 points. Okay, we can go on about the new ownership all the time, but it probably will happen. But as Aaron was saying, Paul Cook has to say what he needs to say. He's come in, and Marcus Evans has brought him in to the club, so he has to stick by him at the moment. But by that time, I think all our Ipswich Town fans will get our wish.
Exactly. And now let's talk about the new owner, because of course news has been fairly quiet on the new ownership front, with barely anything coming out of the press. Although early on Twitter, a journalist from The Athletic stated that the takeover is still very much in the works, with a law firm earlier last week also stating that the new owners had put in a bid for the training ground. Now, of course, this has been going on for quite a while, probably about a month, I would say. And of course, town fans have been incredibly excited about the prospects of a new owner. Now, Leigh, how much longer do you think it would take before this will actually go through properly? Or do you reckon we actually need to be patient? Because, these things don't take quickly to get sorted. So...
No, especially you can go back to when we were in the administrations. That was a hard time to take. These things will take time, but I think at this stage, we've got hope. We've got the new manager, which is in. We just have to support the team as much as we can, and I think we will get our wish. But it's just going to take time. I think they have to go through rules and regs with the EFL. I think it is, before they can do anything. So, there's going to be lots of loopholes to go around, dot the odd I's, cross the odd T's, and then go from there, really. So, but yeah, I'm still optimistic it's going to go through.
I think it'll be sorry, just to add on from that, I think with Marcus as well, when Marcus come in, it sort of just happened, didn't it? All of a sudden, Marcus Evans was the new owner. Yeah. And I probably think something similar is probably going to happen, because this has probably been going on quite a long time. I know we've heard about it for the last month, but I think, Marcus Evans' statement to the fans a couple of weeks ago, whenever it was, I think that was massive from him, because I think that's just my opinion, but I think that showed that, because whatever his name is, Brett Johnson, whatever his name has been, sort of liking things on Twitter and all over social media, putting his name out there, and I think that's just Marcus just stamping back, saying, either I need more money from you, or he's just trying to get reactions from the other people. That's exactly what that Brett Johnson was doing. I think that's exactly what Marcus did back. I know it all looked very pretty to us as fans, like saying, I love the club, I want this, I want that. But I think that's just him trying to get more money from that owner. But as I said just a minute ago, I think it will just happen. We won't know. I know the Athletic guys will say bids coming in, but I think it's just going to keep quite quiet, as it has done really the last week and a half. And then all of a sudden you're going to see these people are new owners. So it's something to be excited about.
Definitely.
But I don't think there's going to be a massive sort of outrageous build up to it. I think it's just going to surprise us one day.
Yeah. Like it happened with Paul Lambert leaving, actually, wasn't it? So, he got the confidence from Marcus Evans, really, didn't he? So, and then that Sunday he gone. And then, of course, you had Leigh O'Neill come on the iFollow saying, we're just looking for a new manager. We're going to take our time. You got Matt Gill in charge with the other staff. So, and then all of a sudden, bang, Paul Cook was in. So, like Aaron was saying, I think it's going to happen quite quickly. It's just going to go bang. It could be happening tonight. I don't know. It could happen at 9 o'clock or 9:30. So it could literally happen tonight. So we don't know what's going to happen, but it's quite exciting to be an Ipswich Town fan at the moment, because we're now in that pole position where we want to be, and like I say, it's going to be in our hands. But it's going to be a very important week this week, especially with Fleetwood on Tuesday and then Portsmouth. we get 3 points in both of those games, 6 points. But then he's got a nice gap, Paul Cook, to work his magic with his tactics and everything. See how Finn Downs is, see how Hughes is, Cole Hughes, and the other players coming back. James Norwood as well. I know he's injured, and of course he's got his other personal reasons happening very shortly. But if he's coming back, yeah, I think we should all be optimistic and stick by the team.
So, Aaron, is this all a bit of PR really from Marcus Evans's point of view? Because, of course, when you're in the midst of a takeover, you have to kind of be careful about these kind of things. You have to be careful about what you say to the press in regards to what Leigh O'Neill said about us. And also, if you're Brett Johnson, you're also going to have to be quite careful about this. And especially on the PR front, you're going to have to be careful about what information you have to say. I reckon that the owner, or the new owner, Brett Johnson, and especially Marcus Evans, are being incredibly careful about what they're actually saying to the press and maybe the signs that they're giving off on their social media, such as LinkedIn, especially in Brett M. Johnson's case.
Well, I think most deals go on behind the scenes in the boardroom, and you don't hear anything about it. So I think when Brett Johnson started liking everything, I think that sort of sparked a bit of a reaction, of course, as we saw from Marcus Evans coming out of a statement about selling the club. So I think they were all probably, if this is happening, I think they were all sort of playing by the book until he started coming out on social media. So I think Marcus obviously then thought, well, fair game, here we go. I think they're just jousting for position. It's almost like a negotiation over social media, isn't it? I think that's what it looks like to me. Brett Johnson's thinking, yeah, this is done. I'm going to get what I want. Marcus gives his club statement, and then suddenly, back to the drawing board, need more money. I reckon that's what that looks like. So, as we've just said before, I think it's going to go back to being quite quiet in the boardroom after their little to and fro over social media. And I think, as we said, it's just going to sort of spring out at us one day.
So, Leigh, Marcus Evans is infamously a tough negotiator. He won't really take a proper look at offers, and he'll always kind of like push the majority of those offers away. So do you reckon that there's a slim chance that this takeover might not even happen, especially given, as I just said, how difficult Marcus Evans can be to deal with?
Well, he's been here for quite a long time now, Marcus Evans, hasn't he? 14, 15 years now. So personally, he's losing money in his eyes. So he wants the best deal what he can get to. So there was reports that he's sold the club for 17 million. Okay, it might be because of that Twitter outbreak by Brett Johnson there. Okay, we're going to put another 10 million on there. Going to put another 10 million. Having more talks about the training ground as well coming up. So it's all, personally, I think it's all going in the right direction. But all in ends, as a town fan, it's good to talk about positive things about the town. We got our wish with Paul Lambert going. So yeah, Paul Cook's come in, which we weren't. Was talked about anyway with the new owners, and look what happened with that. Like we said before, it could just happen tonight. It could happen tomorrow. We just don't know. But I feel it's still going to happen.
You get me excitedly with all of this overnight talk.
Yeah.
Tomorrow morning I wake up to and like a nice the flag. It's the flag, isn't it, in front of the pitch? Breaking.
Yeah, you'll see it. As soon as it picks up on it, I'll tell you.
Yeah, all right then.
The Athletic have gone very quiet about the takeover, says ITFC Tweedy. But quickly, before we get on to the other news, which is Alan Judge and Drisdale, Aaron, I'm going to throw a random question out there. You're the new owner, right? And you have to change one thing as soon as you come in. What would that thing be? Would it maybe be the training facilities? Would it maybe be, like budgeting, or maybe like how much budget you actually put into the staff? What would be the first thing you would change as the new ITFC owner? And I'll also pass that question on to you, Leigh.
I would get in an experienced director of football and copy the trend of what all of the big clubs are doing and teams sort of around us, I'd hate to say it, like a Norwich, that are doing great scouting all over the world and getting good players in. from nowhere. Like, we'd never heard of a load of these players. Suddenly they've got players like Buendia and all that sort of stuff who look like good Championship players and maybe Premier League players. So that's where I'd start. I'd get some experienced people in the club that have done it elsewhere and sort of get a structure in place that sort of looks a lot less strange. Because at the moment with Leigh O'Neill, that's sort of just got a free role at the club. I don't know what he does. I know he seems a likable guy. Like, I've heard him in a few interviews and he seems all right. But I don't want somebody that seems all right around the club and is a sort of I want experienced pros that have done it before, that you've got confidence that can do it again for us. So that's what I would change. I'd get a director of football in and some people around you that you can trust.
How about you, Leigh? What would be the first thing you would change? Would you maybe go down a similar route that Aaron would go down? Or would you maybe go more down the investment side of things, maybe into the squad, as it's not long till the summer transfer window?
I feel you're going to have a bit of two, really, because you need to strengthen the squad and you need to have a structure in any organisation. So, first of all, as Aaron said, yes, I feel that their structure should be changed. Even if it was a town legend, Terry Butcher maybe, George Burley, who knows the games inside and out. So they've been here, they've had success at the club. Or even, like Aaron was saying, with Norwich City's chief of football, what's his name, Stuart Webber. He come from nowhere, he comes from Huddersfield. So, he's done a remarkable job there. I'm sorry to say, but he has. He's brought in Pookie for free. So he picked them. Pookie for free. He brought in some other players as well. Even Daniel Fargo, the Norwich manager, picked him up from Dortmund. So I think that's the first thing they should go for. But then depends on where we are at the end of the season. If we have gone up, then yes, we need to invest. We are going to go invest in the squad, and we have to look at these players who are in the Championship at the moment, the experienced Championship players, even the Premiership ones. Maybe a bit of Scottish, I don't know. But, you've got experienced players all over the place. We've got good scouts at town. Even Kieran Dyer is bringing in the under-23s and the under-18s. The under-18s are doing fantastically well at the moment. They're top of the league. So, they're doing pretty well. So that's why I agree with Aaron with the instruction. The structure needs to be better. Definitely, Leigh O'Neill. I have no idea what he does. I think he only does this for part-time work. But then, so personally, I think is he a rugby man or something? I don't really know what he does.
Yeah, he's a rugby and cricket man. Yeah.
So why have we got a rugby and cricket man as a chief of head of?
Who knows?
I don't get that. But you got to have someone who knows the game inside and out, like a legend at Ipswich Town. So I don't know what people think in the chat. Throw out to them really, because that's how I go. And then rebuild in the summer, get rid of the deadwood, all the out contracts, and then build from there. But structure first, team in the summer.
So, in other news, Alan Judge had, of course, gotten himself into trouble after squaring up to referee Alan Drisdale, and Darren Drisdale ultimately got banned for the altercation. However, earlier in the week, Drisdale was handed a backdated ban and a warning regarding his future conduct by an FA independent inquiry, having admitted to improper conduct. Although this is where things get interesting, because in his statement, Drisdale claimed Judge, having been denied a spot kick for what the official felt was a dive, said, and I'm not going to repeat it, but he said some pretty unsavoury words. Well, according to Drisdale anyway. Alan Judge, however, immediately bounced back, and I actually have a tweet right here to what Alan Judge said. Alan Judge said right here, as I said in this, there was no need for an apology. It wasn't a good look, although he also said in his tweets that he didn't actually say what Drisdale had allegedly said he had. According to Judge, he had only said one swear word, which was bad, and that Judge apologised for, but he didn't call the referee a bald, and I'm not going to swear live on air because that would ultimately be bad. So what do we make of this, Aaron? Do you reckon that the FA have gotten this all wrong by giving Drisdale a backdated ban? Because Drisdale is looking actually quite bad from this, especially since the club have got audio proof that Judge didn't say what he had allegedly been accused of saying. So yeah, how bad does this look on the Football Association? And should Drisdale maybe get another ban off this, or are we being too harsh?
I don't like the idea of banning people or cancelling people. This new sort of cancel culture that we're in for doing stuff like that. I know it doesn't. It's not great that he's squaring up to Alan Judge, and I think he needs to be obviously spoken to about that. But I think it's one of those things. If he gets a good talking to about it and gets a little ban, then he's not going to do it again. He'll learn from it. Everybody makes mistakes, and I know he's made a big mistake there by squaring up to a player on live telly, so he knows not to do that again. But I think players are obviously in the referee's ear all game, and I'm sure I know some pretty terrible stuff gets said on a football pitch. But I don't know what Alan Judge is like as a person. I've never met him. I've never spoken to him, so I don't know if he's the sort of guy that would give the referee a good battering and all them swear words that he's accused to have been said. But I don't think stopping that Alan Drisdale, whatever his name is, from refereeing ever again is a great thing for anyone, really, because I'm sure he loves doing it. And it's a mistake that he's made, and he'll learn from that and won't do it again, hopefully.
And here is Judge's proper statement, because the tweets that we saw just then didn't really reveal a lot in regards to how Alan Judge was actually feeling. So Alan Judge, in an official statement, said, "I said the incident was over as far as I was concerned when I walked off the pitch, and that I wasn't looking for an apology," he told the club site. I didn't want to make anything of it because it's a tough job being a referee, but I'm not going to keep quiet when I've been accused of calling the referee a cheat and using the C word. I'll admit to using the F word, but I said to him, you have got to be effing joking with me, ref. And I said that a couple of times, though I never said the C word. And then he went on to say that the club have, of course, got audiographic proof of the incident. Now, Leigh, should the FA get their hands on the audio, do you reckon that this could kind of deepen the inquiry a bit further? Because, as I said, this isn't a great look on Drisdale at all. He should really be a professional. Although Alan Judge, if it did turn out that he actually said what he did say to the referee, maybe there could be a future ban for him as well. Who knows? Well,
let's take this a little bit back, because I am a former referee. I know how bad it's been. So if Alan Judge said that to me, about me, well, I'm not bald, but if he said that to me, you wouldn't show them a yellow card, you would show them a red card. Okay, if you showed them a yellow card, the yellow card must be for diving, of course, and then of course they gave a free kick. So, but once you've left that field of play, to be honest, Alan Judge is right, but you can't really now go backdated and say what he said. Fine. If that's what the investigation goes through for the FA, go for the FA. Get that audio about it. And if it's wrong, fine. But you've made a mistake. You can't come out saying after the game, this is what's happened. You've already been banned for it. You've already been, seen trying to squelch to an official and a player. It's not on. But personally, they should have just left it as it is. He had his ban, and then try and move on. But then now he's just opened it up for worms, really. But he could have more of a ban for lying, so then he could be kicked out of the FA. But that's, I don't know what the rules are now for in that case. But but in the first instance, if he said that to me on a football pitch, he would have been sent off. But and that would have been it.
Yeah, sure. Sorry to but surely if the referee's feeling completely abused, can't they just send a player off?
Yeah.
Why doesn't that happen then? Like, he's made it such a...
Yeah, so if he sent him
off, And then he comes out. There's a thing I forget. Oh, why did Alan Judge get sent off for this and that? Because he was only diving in the box. Why did he get sent off? And the referee can just explain sort of sickening, vile abuse to me on a football pitch deserves sending off. Everybody were like, well, it's a bit rubbish, but everything does it, but okay. Instead, he's sort of just, well, I'm not sure if he's lied or not, but it looks like he's lying.
Yeah.
And now he's sort of opened a can of worms for himself with the FA.
Yeah, so if you do that foul and abusive language to start with, no, in my eyes, he would have been sent off. But if he hasn't, you're going to cause more problems for yourself and then go from there. But he could even cause himself a ban or even kicked out of football. But that's the FA. The FA needs to investigate that. But you can't. It could rumble on for a few more weeks. It could be months, years. We just don't know. So, but yeah, I feel it's just opening a can of worms on the story, really.
So, before we get on to the competition results, we have 2 winners, and I want to thank you all for taking part. I want to get your thoughts on this. The whole club needs a fresh start, especially from the top. Let Cook do his job, new owner, with proper investment and a massive clear out of dead wood. What make of it? Because in my opinion, I actually agree with him. I reckon there's a lot of dead wood in the squad need for clear out as well. So, again, what do you make of what he said just then? And who would you get rid of? We've spoken about Deadwood and we've spoken about the players who are out of contact, but who should we let out first? Because we have got a lot of players who, in my opinion, aren't actually good enough to play for the squad. And I'm going to give this question to both of you. So, Aaron, you start first.
I think there's a few obvious ones that are Deadwood now. Emir Hughes, he's not gonna be playing again for us. Giving him a new contract now would be outrageous. He doesn't play any games. When he does, he doesn't look up to it at the moment. I'm not sure where he goes from here personally, but I think he's one of them. And then Cole Skusey's out of contract at the end of this season. Yeah. He's played 20 minutes of one game. I imagine, to be honest, I'd like to keep Cole Skusey around the club actually, because he's a good head and I'm sure he's a good voice. So, but I can't see him playing much more after this season. And I'm sure there's a few others. Keenan Bennett's on loan. I don't rate Keenan Bennett at all. He can go back.
No, I don't.
And there's obviously, who's the striker that we got in from Portsmouth that played like 5 games?
Oliver Hawkins.
Hawkins. I'm not sure what deal we gave him. Did we give him a 2-year deal or 1-year deal? He's played 5
at the moment.
Yeah, I imagine so probably. But he's another one. Not played enough. Not been up to it. Not scored enough. I think he scored 1 header or something, didn't he? Yeah. But he missed like 5 or 6 chances. Where it's like, right, you've got to score that as a big man in the box. I think there's just a few players that are going to be out of contract that we need to look at, sort of shipping off and starting afresh from. But that's where we need to be looking. We need to be planning this now. I'm sure they are. Yeah. We need to be looking at this now. People will be out of contract in the Championship. People will be out of contract in the Premier League. There'll be young players in the Premier League looking at loans. This all needs to be spoken about before we get to the summer. So I feel like we always do this. We go, right, okay, these players are all going to be going or out of contract. We give them all that extra 1-year deal. That seems to be a thing, doesn't it? Marcus gives them all a 2-year deal with a 1 year extra. Yeah. We need to be planning for more than that. We can't just be sort of trying to put out fires with signings in the summer. We need to be planning now and getting the right players in. We can't just say, get 7 players out of the club and get 4 or 5 players in. They need to be the right players. We can't just be doing what McCarthy did, which is we need an extra player in here. We need an extra body. Who's free transfer? We need to be planning this now, and so that we can if we do get promoted, we can have a good run at the Championship, and if we don't get promoted, we can have a better run at the season next year.
How about you, Leigh? Because RTFC Tweedy made a good point here, saying there are so many players on Championship wages. I know for a fact that Emir Hughes is probably one of our highest earners. I don't know whether I'm right in saying that. But yeah, going back to my last question, who would you get rid of? And do you reckon that, well, we do have too many players on high wages and those are the players who we should really be getting rid of?
Yeah, well, we've got the most players in our squad, haven't we? We've got 30-odd players. And I think Plymouth got one of the least amount of players in their squad. So Paul Cook, I think he's really knows what his formation is going to be. He knows kind of his backbone already. But we've got, 7 loanee players at the club, I think it is. So all those players, all the loan players will go. I think it will just be the players in the squad. But yeah, as Tweedy was saying, yeah, we've got players on championship wages. Chambers is probably one of them. Cole Skuseys is another. Hughes is going to be another one. So yeah, like Julian was saying as well, start at the top, work your way down, and then go from there. Let's say, like Aaron was saying, he will have a list. Paul Cook will have a list. He will go to Marcus Stewart, whoever's going to be the owner in the summertime. So look, these are the players I want. He's going to cut the squad down to 20 to 25 players. Even use the youngsters, because we have got some good youngsters coming through as well. So, let's go for it. But it all depends on what league we're going to be in. Is it going to be League One or Championship? That's going to be the most important point. But like I say, it's on our hands. So it's hopefully exciting times to come.
And as we said earlier, we do have the winners for the competition, which we head out on Friday. And the winners are ITFC Tweedy and Daniel Barnard. So if you could you please email beria@icloud.com for the codes, BEYR@icloud.com. So thank you very much for taking part. We really, really appreciate it. And there'll, of course, be more competitions in the near future. So don't forget to keep up to date with We Follow the Town on Twitter @WeFollowTown. And you can, of course, keep up to date with us on there and listen to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and Amazon. And I just want to thank our 2 guests today, our 2 regulars, Leigh Simons and Aaron Tester. Thank you very much for coming on. We, of course, do play Fleetwood on Tuesday. What do you reckon the score will be? And I'll go to you first, Aaron. What do you reckon the score will be?
I'm seeing a massive improvement on Tuesday. And I think I'm going to go and say they're struggling at the moment, aren't they? I think they're sort of 14th, are they? 14th, 15th? I think we'll put 3 past them. I'm going to say 3-0.
3. Optimistic.
Very optimistic this week.
How about you, Leigh?
I think we're going to do quite well. It's going to be 4-1.
4 goals? Jeez.
Wow.
And I'm going to go 5-1.
Oh!
There we go.
Outrageous.
No, not 5-1, 4-1. I think I agree with that. So thank you very much. Julian Hughes says 1-1. He's probably being a bit more realistic than we are. No offence to you two.
Time.
So once again, thank you.
To be fair though, every prediction I've done on it, apart from maybe Gillingham, I've got right so far. So if it's 3-1, if it's 3-0, sorry, I think you all owe me something.
Fingers crossed. We all owe you an iFollow code.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, all right. All right.
8-0. God, imagine that. Anyway, thank you very much for joining in on today's show. And I want to thank you all in the chat as well. Join us on Wednesday evening at 8:30, where we will be talking about the Fleetwood game along with other guests. And next Sunday's show will actually be on Friday, as we'll be having a very special guest on there. And the Friday show will, of course, be on at 8:30 as always. So thank you very much and goodbye.